Hello and welcome to Lunchtime News. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. We'll dig into it. President Yoweri Museveni, also the Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, UPDF, has said Uganda will develop very fast if all security agencies do their role correctly in fighting crime to ensure peace and stability of the nation. He was speaking to staff of External Security Organization, ISO, at Marine Training College School in Butiaba, Wantembo Barracks in Bulisa district, where he also passed out 62 ISO trainees who successfully completed their 10 months training course. The president noted that the work of defending and developing the country is well laid out, and if everybody does their part, the country will develop very fast. He also said that the internal spy agency has no business arresting suspects, saying that it is the role of the police. He said ISO's role is to investigate and inform police. President Museveni commended the ISO leadership for recruiting professionals to deal with modern security threats. Now, Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom has joined the rest of the country to mourn the death of the fallen Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah. The Prime Minister of Bunyoro Kingdom, Andrew Yakitaga Atenyi, who signed the condolence book on behalf of Bunyoro Kingdom, condoled with the people of Acholi and Uganda over the loss. In the condolence message read by the Prime Minister of Bunyoro, Andrew Atenyi, the kingdom cherished the late as one of the peace-loving citizens the country had and a person who always worked closely with other sections, irrespective of their stature and tribe. The kingdom also celebrates him as one of those who as one of those few high-profile persons who loved and promoted not only his culture but also other cultures.
Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, on my own behalf, I wish to extend my sympathies to His Excellency the President of Uganda, the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, the family and the people of Uganda, upon the demise of Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, who has been the Speaker of Parliament. The people of Bunyoro have a close relationship with the people of Acholi, and especially the ruling Babito clan, who have their ancestry in Acholi. Since time immemorial, we have always joined hands with our brothers and sisters. If you've seen on many occasions where the Right Honorable Oulanyah would be presiding or present, he would normally come out, participate in the local dances, in the traditional dances, cultural dances for the Acholi people. And actually that was a very big symbol for promoting culture. And that's why we are appealing to all other leaders to really promote culture, because for me, as I'm here, I'm a Prime Minister of the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, and our main mandate is to promote and preserve our culture. So that's why we appeal to all leaders. As much as you grow in your career, you become a member of parliament, a minister, always endeavor to remember that your culture is very important. And that's why brother who contributed a lot towards the development of Acholi and Uganda in general. We shall miss him dearly. Rest in peace, Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah.
Meanwhile, the National Planning Board has finally been constituted after all the 10 members taking oath of service. Oath was administered by the Deputy Chief Justice Richard Butera at an event held at the High Court in Kampala. Members can now substantively execute their mandate.
Section 4 of the Physical Planning Act 2010, where it is now 2020, provides for establishment of the National Physical Planning Board. Section 6 of the Act provides for the mandate of the board. This mandate includes advising government on policies and standards related to the fiscal planning. The board guides local governments on matters of coordination and integration of fiscal development.
It's exciting, but it's also a challenge because we obviously have a lot to do. If you look around our city, our capital, if you look around the country, you see developments are happening rapidly, but they are not as regulated as they should be. So for the whole country, that's a lot of work for us. I expect hard work, commitment. I expect them and myself to serve in the public interest and not to be driven by individualism. I expect them to work in accordance with the law, and I expect us to have the desired integrity, because the nature of work, fiscal planning, is quite heavy. So if we don't have the integrity that we need, we shall not achieve. And I think we should work in a coordinated way with the other stakeholders. For example, we deal with the environment issues as well. We should work with NEMA. We deal with enforcement issues. We should work with Uganda police forces. We deal with the buildings where they are located. We should work with the National Building Review Board.
Oath by the substantive chair now, because we had an acting chair, of course gives the board a very big milestone now, because now we shall be able to execute our mandate without fear or favor. And we all know that fiscal planning takes place in the local governments. So me, as the representative of the Ministry of Local Government, that is where we are going to exert a lot of our energies and capacities as the National Fiscal Planning Board to ensure that we plan in line with the law. We do the enforcement of compliance, because most of our local governments are not complying to the fiscal planning standards, and this one has actually killed the orderliness in our country. So that is where the board, as a board, want to emphasize and carry our mandate.
Now, the fisheries sector continues to maintain its position as the second leading foreign exchange earner after coffee in Uganda. This underscores the need to adopt research as one of the leading arms in the fisheries sector. Acting Director of Fisheries in the Ministry of Agriculture, Florence Nyeko, says research is key in advancing the fisheries potential.
Research is the first arm of fisheries management. Much as research is found in NARO, which is an autonomous body, but for us in fisheries management, research is the first arm of management, because without research, you don't have information to guide the management decisions. So research is very important for that. In the past, challenges of data and information sharing have ended up being an impediment to effective fisheries management. We need to understand and appreciate the need for biodiversity conservation, for us to make sure in future it will not be once upon a time there used to be fish in Uganda, in Lake Victoria, Kyoga, or whatever water body. But we want them to say, once upon a time, our ancestors did a good job and conserved the biodiversity, and hence we are able to have the fish today as food.
When you keep water fresh, when you keep desiltation of the dams, of the ponds, of the what, there is a way you are enabling us get the right service from the water points. So we believe that appropriate management of natural resources enhances the efforts in climate change adaptation and mitigation.
In the recent past, that is in 2020, from the Bank of Uganda data, Uganda brought in 180 million in 2020 from export to international markets, and another $55 million from regional fish trade. This is the Bank of Uganda data, which is captured as fish is crossing the border through URA system. Coffee brought in there about nearing 400 million. And there's no other commodity, agricultural production commodity, which brought in even close to 100 million in export. So fish is by far the number 2 export earning commodity. And this project has gone ahead to highlight some of these valuable species, not only those which are threatened, but where are these valuable species that we have a potential to even expand our export market and also provide food for the common Ugandans, the local Ugandans.
And the State Minister for Housing, Persis Namuganza, has called for social inclusion in positioning cities without leaving anyone behind to address social inequality. In her message through the Director for Housing, David Kayangayanga, Namuganza said urban poverty and inequality in cities pose a challenge, especially in slums and informal settlements.
Secondary cities provide a stable opportunity for post-COVID-19 recovery, but such cities need to be well positioned if they are to achieve this. At the closing engagement with city stakeholders from across the world, knowledge and experience on how to position cities for economic and social growth was shared.
Developing the type of land expansion plans that are needed so that when the city grows, there is land that is planned for, that enables people to settle, knowing that they're settling in a piece of land that will not be needed for future infrastructure, that will not be needed for them to be relocated down the line.
The Director for Housing, Dave Kanyanganyanga, who represented the Minister for Housing, cited how low-income countries face unmatched growth and demands failing to provide basic services.
When you plan for refugees, it means that there are some issues, there are some challenges that you can leave out. So how do we bring them to be part of the planning and the development agenda, to be integrated in the urban development rolling plans, in the local government rolling plans? That is part of integration.
The need to focus on social inclusion, emergency climate management to position cities for urbanization was highlighted.
The wider UN agenda is that when we are planning, we are not planning for its own sake, but we are planning for people. And when refugees come into the domain, into play, they should be part of that planning. In whichever social activities in their day-to-day life, they must be part and a parcel of that planning.
Urban areas are known for creating significant prospects for socio-economic development, and according to the ministry, participation of the local government should be put on the forefront. Lydia Chomkama, UBC News.
Now, government of Uganda has confirmed that so far over 13,000 asylum seekers have crossed to Uganda after the DRC-based M23 rebels reactivated operations, especially at Bunagana border. In an interview with UBC, the State Minister in charge of disaster preparedness, Esther Nyakuni, confirms that though the situation seems to be sterile in DRC and Kisoro district, where refugees are sheltering now, government is managing the situation.
Since 27th March 2022, there have been reports of security unrest in the neighboring DRC caused by renewed operations of the M23 rebel group, thus forcing hundreds to flee for life to Uganda.
Yesterday at 1 p.m., we received asylum seekers that entered into the country through the border post of Bunagana, Gatwe and Kibusa.
Government of Uganda has updated the country in regards to this matter.
So far by yesterday, we had received around 1,300 people who had entered into the country. But this morning again, I think they kept coming in the night. And as you see what has been going on in the social media, even the guns the gunshots could be heard on the other side of the DRC Congo, where the soldiers are trying to fight back with the M23 rebels who attacked that part of the country. So right now we had an emergency meeting yesterday between the district local government of Kisoro, UNHCR, WFP, and all the development partners. Of course, all this is being coordinated by our ministry, Office of the Prime Minister, to ensure that all the SOPs are being observed in terms of when these people are coming. So this morning, I can report that the security screening started, and that is always the first step when these asylum seekers come into the country.
The State Minister in charge of Relief and Disaster Preparedness, Esther Anyakun, emphasizes that the support of the local communities is needed if government is to avert some possible security threats.
We have asylum seekers who are not willing to go to the transit center. They are hanging around the border, expecting the situation to calm down probably by this morning. So we have very many of them also who are still there. So far from those very many, we can't tell how many they are, but we know only around 1,300 are so far been taken to the transit center. So I want to ask Ugandans from Kisoro to make sure they don't accept these people to mix in the community, because it will jeopardize the security operations in Kisoro district. We don't know how they can be harmful to the environment, to our people in Kisoro.
She, however, confirms that plans for the settlement of these refugees are also in high gears.
As we talk right now, we have 5 buses at Bunagana in all these posts, which are helping us to remove these people from the border post to the Nyakabali. That is where our transit center is, and the activity is going on. Everybody is very busy.
Government of Uganda, however, maintains that unscreened asylum seekers will have no room in its territories.
And we are not going to allow to take services to people who are hanging, who are at large in the community. They have to be in one place so that they can go through the whole process. There is no way we can also expose our staff to go and meet with people who have not been screened by security. That means we shall be putting them in danger.
Currently, the government of Uganda is closely monitoring the situation despite the surging number of refugees. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Illegal bush burning is a common practice in the communities of West Nile along the River Nile. Peripheries of Ajia Game Reserve in Madiokolo district are not exceptional to the act during the dry season. At the expense of the ecosystem, setting fires deliberately due to cultural beliefs, throwing cigarette filters on dry grass and unplanned burning for new pasture are root causes of illegal burnings.
By locals in environmental and wildlife protection poses a threat to the ecosystem, as wild bushfires are a common phenomenon in West Nile districts. In the districts of Pakwach, Madiokolo, Terego, Yumbe, Obongi and Moyo, kilometers of bush can be seen as ashes because of wildfires set by unknown people. According to Patrick Atiku, a district councillor in Madiokolo, and Habib Babiti, a councillor in Obongi, most wildfire outbreaks in their areas are as a result of cigarette smoking and cultural beliefs by members of the community.
After smoking, somebody will just throw a filter just down there, not knowing the filter will end up causing the wildfire. Even there are those who go with the matchboxes and then just set up somebody will tell you, the grasses here, they've dried up. Why can't we burn them without any reason?
If they want their belief to materialize, however much the sub-county authorities may sensitize them about bush burning, the dangers, they're still cynic.
Knight Zahara, the tourism officer of Madiokolo district, notes that tourism and veterinary departments of the district have collaborated to sensitize locals to desist from reckless bush burning in disguise of burning for new pastures.
When it's dry season, Madi is kind of so dry, they believe after bush burning, they will have the pasture. Like if they burn all the grass, you see animals, their health condition deteriorate. So we are also sensitizing them. It's not only by burning the grass that animals can be fed on. They can equally feed on the dry grass. That is their major motive.
Burning to aid poaching of wild animals and other causes of wildfires is what Uganda Wildlife Authority always guards to preserve game parks and game reserves. John Makombo, director in charge of conservation at OA, explains how game parks and game reserves are guarded from illegal fire outbreaks.
One of the interventions that we do is to make sure we ban early, so that even when a poacher comes and he wants to set a fire, it will not go far, because the grass will still be fresh, and so it will not have litter to burn. That's one. Number two is to create compartments. But there are times when, even when you create those fire lines, the wind becomes so violent that it carries fire from one compartment into the next. But the problem again is our partners in Queen, those with the lodges, even when you give them a strip to clear, sometimes they never clear it. They just ignore. And that's why some of the illegal fires that are set by poachers, they end up in people's lodges.
Makombo disclosed that illegal activities like bush burning by members of the community interferes with the ecosystem in the protected areas, and such people are liable for prosecution before courts of law with fines attached to their crimes.
If it is an illegal fire, how do you handle this amicably within the community? This is one way of creating friendship between communities and the park management. But when they are intentionally poachers and we get them, those ones will automatically face the law. It is catered for under the law that when you deface, you burn a fire, or you actually change the ecosystem, then you have committed a sin, an offense.
Members of the Uganda Law Society assembled at the late Jacob Oulanyah's residence to pay their tribute to the fellow member and ask the Almighty to offer him eternal life. Vice President, Uganda Law Society, Diana Ngwech, said the deceased was a legislator renowned for his oratory skills and his eloquence compared to a flash of lightning.
The late Jacob Oulanyah was a member of Uganda Law Society for over 20 years, hence the need to celebrate his contributions to the legal fraternity. The service started with the favorite song of the deceased.
Hallelujah! A big hand.
During the pre-evening memorial service, Lady Justice Helen Obura led the intercession. Reverend Anthony Kamukama from the Church of Uganda encouraged the family members and colleagues that served with the late Oulanyah to emulate from him.
That a day will arrive, and it will inevitably arrive. No one can stop it. No gun, no security, no magic, no witchcraft. Even if you go to the witch doctor in the hills of Rwenzori, you cross to TZ, those are places with the super magicians. Even if you go, no one can stop that. When your day has arrived.
The Vice President, Uganda Law Society, Diana Ngwech, described the deceased as a person who loved his country.
He understood the need for every Ugandan to have access to quality legal services at no cost. Additionally, as Speaker and as Deputy Speaker and later Speaker, he championed the passing of the Legal Aid Bill, which has been spoken about. He opened channels for the Law Society to engage and make meaningful contribution to the development of law in our country.
Members from the J. Oulanyah Advocates remembered the deceased for his strictness when it came to clients' work.
Would always caution us, do not embarrass me. He was a very good man. We are very, very honored to have worked with him.
The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa, urged Ugandans to give them time to fit in Jacob's shoes.
Very important, he has set a script. Let's follow that script. And the moment we do it, Jacob will be proud of the work we shall be doing. We used to call him OJ. OJ loved his work. The problem is simple. Ugandans want to reap without working. You want to be a good legislator without reading. You want to be a good legislator without putting in any time.
The Attorney General, also the head of the bar, committed the family of the deceased to God and described the late as a distinguished lawyer who went an extra mile to find consensus.
Whose intellect, eloquence, wit, collegiality, and sheer presence set him apart. It's no exaggeration, and I know I'm speaking for everyone here, when I say that these attributes for which he was known and which came to define his public persona for as long as we knew him will sorely be missed within the legal profession, in Parliament, and the public at large. The family, the children of the late Right Honorable Oulanyah, you saw him as a father. He was present. Wherever he was present, but extremely humble.
Upon his death, the fallen speaker was constructing a multitude center for youth empowerment and training in Omoro district. His body is expected to jet into the country this Friday. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
Need to send money to a loved one but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for your car or water but have insufficient funds? Or do you want to shop but you don't have enough money? Don't worry, get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Sheikh Ramadan Muwajji, the Mufti of Uganda, states, let us all take the necessary precautions.
Prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers, unless we are masked. Carry your own prayer mat. Sanitize at the entrance. Let's all value the gift of life.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water, or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others, and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
When COVID came, it felt like it destroyed everything my mom had built. She was ready to let go of her dreams. But when one door shuts, a window opens. She grabbed her last kamani and took a leap of faith. She refused to give up. So with a bit of daring and grandma's secret recipe, her business was back. And not just bigger, beyond her wildest imagination.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you, or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back. You are still watching Lunchtime News. Uganda People's Congress, UPC, has joined the rest of the nation to mourn the fallen speaker, Jacob Oulanyah, who was once a member of the party, before joining the National Resistance Movement in 2006. Party President Jimmy Akena describes the late speaker as a social, religious and sportsman who played a unifying role wherever he went. Akena has called upon Ugandans to exhibit unity and mourn with dignity as a country.
Although he crossed to NRM, we remained good friends. And I appreciated the way he handled matters which came before him as Deputy Speaker and Speaker. Whenever he's in the chair, he handled matters in a way which enhanced participation across the board. There's a consistency of who Jacob was. And this one goes beyond the political party affiliation which he had. His thoroughness in research and presenting issues that existed before he was in NRM and continued. His determination on legislation, all of these factors, all of the nature, the character stood out. On former party basis, I respected him for the work he did. I do not share his position of having gone to NRM, but that did not in any way alter our relationship, our understanding, and our friendship.
And the Democratic Republic of Congo is expected to use the next 4 months to ratify and expedite the process of fully becoming a member of the East African Community. In this UBC exclusive, Samuel Sendono sits down with Uganda's first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, to expound more on the issue.
Following the admission of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African Community during the 19th Ordinary Sitting of the Heads of State, a set roadmap by the East African Council of Ministers will be followed for DRC to be fully integrated. The first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, says this will start with the ratification process of the EAC laws and regulations.
The journey has been long. We had to go through many meetings. Congo applied as far back as 2018 to join the community, but we had to go through the processes. Eventually, the Council of Ministers sat, and we set up a verification committee that the President Tshisekedi would have to sign the deed of accession with the chairman of the summit. So we have issued a proposed program, a roadmap, which we hope that if they follow, by October, they really should start attending our meetings. So by the 14th of April, they would have signed the deed of accession between President Muigai Kenyatta and President Tshisekedi.
Kadaga adds that it will take DRC another 4 months to fully become members and attend EAC meetings.
They will also have to now work out a program. When do we join the common market? How quickly can we join the customs union? When are we able to join the monetary union at this stage, and so on? So they have to sit down and work out schedules for all those programs. And we hope that by the end of September, if they have fulfilled, if they are able to accomplish all those, then they'll start attending our meetings and formally making a contribution.
Upon ascension to the treaty establishing the EAC community and depositing the instruments of acceptance to the EAC Secretary General, the Democratic Republic of Congo will join the community in all sectors that promote the 4 pillars of integration. Samuel Sendono, UBC News.
And our section of women are calling for a deliberate move to regulate social media platforms following an increase in acts of gender-based violence. According to Dr. Patricia Litho, social media platforms have taken lead in fueling acts of human rights violations, but especially gender-based violation, cyberbullying, stalking, among others.
Social media has of recent been very, very vindictive, especially when it comes to reporting issues of gender relations.
Social media platforms including WhatsApp, Facebook and Instagram, among others, have of late become very synonymous with acts of cyberbullying, stalking, sexual harassment and gender-based violence, among others. These acts are mainly meted on the female gender, especially those in the limelight, politicians, journalists, among others, due to their vulnerability. The board chairperson, Uganda Women's Association, Dr. Patricia Litho, says both social media and mainstream media have played a big role in portraying negative picture of women, even as they try to struggle for the limited available space.
There's a lot of gender-based violence that is represented in the online gender-based violence, where some nude pictures are still being shared. I think we should be interested in this as the media.
During the Gender and Media Roundtable for Women, there was a call for interventions and intensified involvement of UCC in regulating media platforms. Abdul Waiswa, head of legal at Uganda Communications Commission, says oftentimes they have been seen as acting overboard in execution of their duties.
It's not just to say, we have so much content that talks about women, but actually even the quality of that content, who is it educating?
Regulating the media is one of the most difficult tasks because everything you do as a regulator to a media operator, it can either be seen as gagging, over-regulation, overstepping your mandate. So as a regulator, our general approach is to set the framework.
Women are now advocating for creation of a friendly environment in the narrative of gender-sensitive reporting.
How consciously do reporters look out for stories that are representative of women's lives and make women's lives matter?
Being careful not to stigmatize, not to stereotype, and not to follow what has been done all the time.
The most affected group of women include journalists, those in the limelight, and those in politics, among others. I'm Nafka Farida and Susan Naonga.
Now, in a bid to promote exclusive education, the Chevening Alumni Association of Uganda is hoping to refurbish and equip the Resource Center of Kampala School of Physically Handicapped in Namirembe. On Wednesday, the association hosted a couple of stakeholders to a fundraising breakfast that successfully raised over 20 million shillings in cash and pledges. The Chevening Association of Uganda President Helen Nanteza Kawesa says the project is to cost them a total of 122 million shillings only.
Uganda is home to over 250 Ugandans that have ever had a chance to secure a Chevening scholarship to study in the UK. As a way of giving back to society, the Chevening Alumni Association of Uganda is running a number of corporate social responsibility activities, one of them being the thirst to refurbish the Resource Center at Kampala School for Physically Handicapped and upgrade it to be more adaptive to children abled differently.
When we talk about inclusive education, we are really talking about bringing them on board in the same room, in the same classroom, but paying attention to their individual learning needs.
Because with children with disabilities, if they are not given education, there will be nothing. They cannot live an independent life.
And as the saying goes, money moves things. The Chevening Alumni Association of Uganda has launched a fundraising drive aimed at raising over 120 million shillings to actualize the dream of promoting inclusive education.
They say cash is king, but I think cash is also queen. Because we do need the resources. I mean, it is what it is. We need the resources. That's why we are here this morning. That's why I know each of us will give at least a minimum of 1 million.
The UK is standing absolutely side by side with Uganda and other countries on this, and we will continue to.
The Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education and Sports, gets
We apologize for that. Now, the Ministry of Health has called for new alternative resourcing for malaria prevention and control in order to break donor dependency. This was revealed during the handover of $120,000 by EcoBank Uganda in commitment to end malaria in the country and the continent. Zero Malaria Business Leadership Initiative supports global movement for malaria elimination in Africa. Health officials and business partners noted that there is need to rethink and provide a more robust response that is resilient to economic and public health shocks and other emerging challenges. Now, despite a remarkable success in the global fight against malaria, over the past 2 decades, the disease remains a threat to millions of people in Africa, which accounts for 95% global deaths. In Uganda, overall malaria deaths were reduced from 45,764 in the year 2000 to 21,669 in 2020.
Importantly, account. When they give us their money, we need to account and show them their money has been used for A, B, C, D, this. So as government, we have issues to do with governance. We have to streamline issues of governance, issues of corruption, accountability, and also put in the necessary policies and legal framework to ensure that their money is put to good use.
So we celebrate this morning EcoBank coming on board with an initial contribution of $120,000 towards this fund, which comes in to fill that gap where the National Malaria Control Division feels that they don't have capacity and resources to mobilize and save lives. As Malaria-Free Uganda, we are here to work with the corporate world, to work with the civil society, and to work with the business leaders in raising awareness and in raising resources.
Our contribution to malaria eradication is through an association with Speak Up Africa. So EcoBank is contributing close to 500 million shillings for us to be able to prevent and eliminate malaria through Zero Malaria Business Leadership Initiative.
This is something that Malaria-Free Uganda.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Need to send money to a loved one but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for yaka or water but have insufficient funds? Or do you want to shop but you don't have enough money? Don't worry, get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Let's talk business. The Public Sector Foundation Uganda, PSFU, together with partners, has held a 2-day training aimed at improving the African Continental Free Trade Area. UNDP says the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area will contribute to building Africa's structural transformation, reshaping markets and economies across the region. The private sector remains a key strategic partner for national, regional and continental implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area. Let's take a look.
At the center of the national implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
This Africa Continental Free Trade Area will be a huge game changer. It will change the landscape for the African economies. And I think for those of you that see our fellow Africans drowning in the Mediterranean in the news, our youthful generation migrating or going to the Arab world for opportunities. We trust that this opportunity will also restore the future and dignity of Africans.
Out of the 35-member association of PSFU, we have chosen trainers who have trained the trainees of around 250 enterprises in last 6 days. These trainers are not just trained for this event. They have learned a lot which they are going to talk in the private sector in the days and weeks and months to go.
And the objective of this exercise has been to build the capacities of Ugandan enterprises and businesses in preparation to effectively take advantage of the opportunities the market offers presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And going by this exercise, what is coming out of the different engagements, looks like Uganda is getting set to participate in the African Continental Free Trade Area market, which brings together about 1.3 billion people and a total combined GDP of about $3.4 trillion US.
Well, that does it for Lunchtime News. Thank you for sticking with us. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Do stick around. Good afternoon.
Need to send money to a loved one, but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel, but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for Yaka?